I just wanted to try and mess with them. Hey. Hello, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of Let's Drone Out. Tonight, you are joined by everyone's favourite Curry Kitten.
Hello.
With a disclaimer.
Oh, no, I haven't found it.
He hasn't got it ready.
I forgot to look for it.
Your only job.
There you go. It's there across the screen. Don't listen to any of us because it might all be wrong, especially guests. They might talk rubbish.
My little Tony.
Bonjour.
Painless 360.
Hello.
Andrew / Frank.
Good evening.
Alex, who does the KISS firmware. And I'm Bright Until I Fly. How you doing, guys?
Very good.
Not bad,
yeah.
Painless is back again, so you know that this will be somewhat of a half-decent show. Enjoy.
And we won't swear because Painless is here.
Pressure. I tell you what, the editor must love it when I'm on because they only have about 2 things to bleep.
I
know.
definitely had that as a message.
All right. You see, the thing is, now I know that everybody will be hell bent on making sure that they have an awful lot more than 2 things. So that was my fault, and I take full responsibility for that.
Look at what Catman's put in the chat. Can someone highlight Catman FPV?
Alex, you probably
was so surprised he made a typo in WTF as well.
Yeah, I know. As you probably guessed, this is one of the worst drone podcasts ever.
It's the only
right.
And also one of the best, just from the fact how many there are. So, swings both ways, doesn't it?
Yeah. So thanks for coming on. I invited you on. I haven't spoken to you in a good while. I think it was like sometime last year, and then I've still got release candidate 40 on one of my quads from you, and like it's been brilliant. And I found out that you do a Patreon and you've been working on the firmware, and it's available there. And you flashed your little dev board, if you don't mind holding it up again. Explaining it again.
Oh, yay. Kiss board.
So tell us what you got there, if you don't mind.
Well, I just dropped everything together because I was tired of things, kind of concentrated in one ball of wires. So there's a KISS FCF2, V2, crossfire receivers, some runcam camera, I have no idea which one. GPS, Wolf, PDB for OSD because I use KISS messaging, so I need to see what's going on the screen. There is very shut down beeper because beeper gives me problems last few hours, and that's pretty much. You put AAC in it and the thing can fly. Well, and it's connected to just.
Can I ask a quick question on behalf of people like me that may not have used KISS? I have used some KISS ESCs, but never a flight controller. So lots of people use Betaflight. We're quite familiar with it. What is different about KISS? How does it work differently? I know people that use it really quite evangelize about it quite a lot because they really like it. So what's the key features? If you were trying to sway me.
Well, I think it's all in the name. Keeping it super simple. So there's no fancy GUI with 100 pages where you need to watch 10 videos to understand how the thing bloody works. It's just basically it's one page and one advanced page, and this is what you have. Super simple. There's not that much things you can change, and this is kind of controlled of what people can change, what people cannot change. Same things. A lot of things made automatic, so it's behind the scene, so you don't have to bother. For example, RTH, you can fly with default settings. PIDs, you can just go fly with default PIDs. Flies quite okay, by the way. It's for people who like more fly than tinker. It's just
Ooh, that's interesting already.
yes.
So is RTH on KISS actually RTH not sort of crash towards yourself at home like Betaflight does?
You didn't really see that. Yeah, it's well, we kind of jumped to the end of history of the KISS now. Well, I will tell you the RTH. I wrote from scratch. I promised somewhere last year that I will do RTH on KISS. So I started to do in 40i, added GPS support, then another things, and somewhere in March I start testing RTH. Wrote it from scratch. So I think it flies quite nice. The general idea for me is to try to mimic RTH like the pilot would fly. So it's very silky smooth throttle control. It's smooth turns, and well, I like it. It's came out very good. Still work in progress. There are some things I still need to do. Well, currently I'm busy adding RTH on file save because a lot of people, of course, it needs to be done. Losing video, well, you can flip the switch and quad will come back. I think record is now 4.3 kilometers on DJI, by the way. Well, I need to do things to return the quad when receiver fail saves, and that requires some refactoring of the main code of fail save. So it's practically done. I think this weekend I will wrap it up and ship it to the testers. Well, that's what I'm currently busy with.
And what's the relationship between the KISS hardware and the KISS software?
It's one-to-one, so it's one made for another. So for example, no, how can you do it? You can treat Betaflight like Windows or well, more Linux, and KISS more like Apple, because we use very low-level code and highly optimized code that runs only on our platform. It can run on other flight controllers, by the way, but with adaptation. But it is made for each other, so that's really a good thing.
I must admit, the KISS stuff has been the best flying flight controllers without a lot of messing about that I've ever done. I've done a couple of builds with stuff from you guys, and whereas with things like Betaflight and iNav, the initial PIDs are okay and they get you flying, there's always an element of iterative tuning to get it to fly how you want. With the KISS stuff, I was all really impressed. It just, I don't know what you guys do, but it just seems to fly really nicely straight away. And I just love that, because there's so much fear and worry from lots of new pilots, because someone was joking before about, I wish it was only 10 videos to watch, because most of us have been doing it for a while. Well, you talked about you need to watch 10 videos to set up Betaflight, and I think a lot of people would argue it's more than that. With KISS, you literally set it up, you plug it together, you fire it up, and away it goes. The return to home, is that, just a quick question from me, does that return to home, if it's on a multi-rotor, fly it back and then land and disarm it, or is it like Betaflights where it just flies it back and kind of hovers around there?
It doesn't hover, Lee. It just crashes.
No, well,
I was being generous.
Well, the moment it just comes back and hovers above, and you're supposed to turn off RTH and land it yourself. I didn't do landing logic yet, but
Okay.
There is one problem I really fighting with myself. I don't want to put quad down with spinning props. I don't. Because you don't know, it's only relies on GPS, and altitude on GPS not that great on all GPSs, but it works with all the tricks I do. But go slowly down around you with props spinning with this grass mower is not really a good idea. So I thinking or there will be a chance to take over. That's its preferred method. So it comes back, take over, and you land at lows, or it will hover until LiPo alarm triggered, and then it will disarm or just fall down and go to normal fail-safe procedure. But I didn't decide it yet. So at the moment it just hovers above, so you can do whatever you want. But
to be fair, if it come back and then just fell in front of me, I wouldn't mind. Better than going looking for it, isn't it?
It will fall down eventually. You know, it
Yeah.
will never hang forever. So
No, I'd much prefer that to be than go looking trudging across wherever looking for a quad that's gone.
that's problem already taken care of.
And you've managed to do that functionality just on a GPS, so it doesn't need a compass as well.
No, I don't use GPS. It's similar to what Betaflight Rescue does. So they also rely on minimum of sensor. Well, minimum. It's just GPS. I do only GPS. Honestly, I don't have any means to connect compass to KISS. It would be not simple. So that's kind of not in sync with the project. There is one way to use compass with TBS GPS book, but I didn't implement it yet.
I'd like to ask: is it the ESCs that make KISS great, or is it the flight controller, or is it the programming? Which one of them three?
All of them.
Or all together?
All together.
Is it all
It's
together?
the Triforce.
Because I've seen people like I fly KISS FC, and then different ESCs, and they love and I'm like, well, I like it all together, and it just flies so good all together.
Well,
but people do split it sometimes.
The thing is, some people don't like KISS ESCs, and they're trying to use it with KISS Flight Controller, most likely because they used to, and because the prices is higher for KISS components. Well, the original KISS ESCs were made in Europe, so of course the quality was quite better than China stuff. I'm talking about 24, 32 amps from Flyduino. And it works. Well, you're missing some nice cherries on top, like telemetry, like the short commands, like flashing your ACs through KISS. So it will. Well, it doesn't work with Betaflight or with BL Helice because of the technical limitations. And that's it. Well, people fly with BL Helice. That's fine.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with this?
Sorry?
How did you get involved with this? Have you always been writing it, or?
No. Well, the thing is, it was very simple. I think 3.5 years ago, when the KISS was released, I was very much Betaflight user. I actually did some even contributions to Betaflight project at the time. I bought my first KISS. I put it on the quad. It was LN 5-inch. I flown it, and I never touched Betaflight again. And this is my first encounter with KISS. And well, if I like something, I start to contribute into the project and jump some ideas. And I was looking for ways to log flight telemetry, because I worked on Betaflight with Nicholas Sherlock, the guy who made Black Box. And I wanted to have something for KISS like this, but there was no access to source code, and I started to just log telemetry stream. And the guy Norbert Mashinek, who was working in the KISS racing team manager at that time, he approached me and said, like, "Well, you're doing great stuff. Do you want to see the magic sauce?" Are you kidding? Of course.
You know how the sausage is made.
Well, I jumped on the train just blindly and started just punching code. At that time, KISS was like one page of GUI, and Beeper was doing like beep. was really dramatic, but was flying well. Well, with some mid-flight oscillations, but who cares? The responsiveness was great. So I started to basically contribute on the project and writing some code and start to do GUI, extend GUI, basically everything what you see in the GUI after first page. It was my stuff I did. And then I was start doing for more and deeper and some flying code, some filters, and here we go.
I must say, it does fly lovely. I fly it for freestyle, but I do fly beta flight for racing. Just find the two. I can't race with KISS, so I have to race beta flight.
Well,
not that I've done much racing the last year, but it just feels completely different to me. Like KISS for me is locked in freestyle, just feels really nice, and beta flight just feels a bit looser and just a bit more. I don't know. They're two different things for me, and that's how I fly both.
well, it's a matter of choice. It's nice to have options, right?
Exactly.
Well, I know Heiko of Heiko. He's really fanatic KISS racer, so
Okay.
he's racing like there's no tomorrow only on KISS. For some reason, he prefers KISS feel on the racing. So
Yeah, there is some out there. I've met some KISS guys who like race KISS, and that's it. But for me, it just different. Just I don't know the locked inness of KISS when you're freestyling. Whereas the beta flight, it just feels different. It's a lot different, and that's just the way I do it. But that's just personal preference.
I have no idea. I wouldn't lie. I'd never race because
Never fly beta flight.
No, I never raced. Never had a urge to crash all the time and
yeah, that's basically
I
it.
just do it for just pleasure.
Is that better, Frank?
Little bit.
You do sound better than a potato you did in 10 minutes ago, Jack.
I don't know what's up with it then.
No, you sound good now.
I was
sure?
a bit of glitches, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually my mic.
Oh no! What have you done to your sister? So, what about KISS and DJI? Wasn't that one of your questions, Tony?
It
Are
was.
you not getting
yes,
your OSD through?
Yes, I'm not at the moment, and wondering when will it be out and will it be easy? Because I think someone's done it, but it's like open Chrome, do something, go backwards. I don't know. There's just nothing out there. That's the problem with KISS. There's nothing out there showing you what to do. Because not seen it, not found it, not seen it. But I've only had
Tony has his head.
HD for like 2 days. So.
To be fair, Tony doesn't know how to work a computer either, so if it was out there, he wouldn't find it.
Here in front of me.
This is what Tony as a user is.
Well, if you don't know where it is, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Fair enough.
I think I released first KISS DJI support the day after I got the goggles. First version with just voltage alarm that goes red. Now you have I finished the firmware for DJI support. It supports pretty much all sensors that's available to me. It supports KISS messaging. That's a new thing I did in 45 firmwares. I will probably tell you later on about it. You can select 7 layouts. I didn't want to do a very fancy editor because it's quite complex. You need to move things around. It's just presets. I assembled all information from a lot of people how they want it and ended up with 7 presets. Maybe I will make more. You have GPS data. You have home pointer. Actually, home pointer was supported before Betaflight. It supports LQ on Crossfire and virtual LQ on other receivers. That's also what Betaflight is having.
I need this in my life. Where can I find it? Is there any videos to show me what to do?
Well, you don't need to do anything. You just connect it to serial port. You select serial port as MSP, and this is it.
Tony, the serial port isn't like a socket on the wall.
Oh,
it's like socket with six pins on it.
Tony, just make sure Danny heard this so he can do it for you. And then
I think he's in the chat, so if not, I'll be driving to Brighton.
Asks, any chance of iBus support for KISS?
iBus
Vice guy, iBus.
What the heck is this?
It's you know the FSI 6.
Kind of Fly Sky's version of S-Bus, sort of.
Yeah.
A bit.
Which is apparently faster.
Oh,
How much
faster.
is it going to give to
Crossfire
your-
is faster.
Crossfire is the fastest.
Yeah, it's fastest. But well, I don't have any Fly Sky, and I don't have any intention to implement it because I don't really use it. Sorry. Well, if somebody,
So that's a hard no then. At the moment,
well, I don't know.
iBus kind of gives it away.
Somebody just sent me DJI goggles, and well, I thought, well, that's a nice present. I gotta hook it up, so I just made the firmware for it to work. So Fly Sky,
Sweet.
I have no idea. Same with Grapner. So they approached me and say, "Can you make kind of a Lua editor for us?" They also sent me some radios, and yeah, well, 2 days later it was done.
Wow,
this
2
is
days.
pretty much how it works. So if I got interest in something, I'd implement it. I like it to work.
And
Yeah,
it does.
Fly Sky.
Someone sent him a Fly Sky gear and it worked. 2 days later.
I think people were worried about KISS probably 3. Well, was it 3 years ago, Jack, that you were flying and always catching ESCs alight?
That was a very long time ago.
Yeah, there was. I was going to say it was like 4.
No,
probably.
Were they 20 amp? I think.
No, it was 18 MPCs.
It was the 18s. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought like 24 of them. And I bought just a liter of IPA. It was, brushing all the balls out and cleaning it up like on the videos. And I was, I was burning, I think, half of them.
Yeah. I used to, when I first flew, I flew a couple and hit a branch and it would burn out, fall on the floor, and that was it.
8-bit CPUs, 8-bit of slow CPUs. What could they do?
Yeah. It was back in the day, admittedly. It was 4 years ago or whatever. Now there's so much improvement.
It was quite a hype. There was a nice video from Novak flying in the sunset in the garden, showing responsiveness of keys, and that was so nice. I got hooked.
Well, they felt really nice. They really were, like totally different. It was, it reminded me of, what was it called again? I've totally forgotten. Multi-Wii flight controllers. It kind of felt like that, like the sort of rates. It felt really nice. And just kind of got along with them. But yeah, they were like little firecrackers. They would just go all the time. I ran into like one person. I was like, "Yeah, man, you at some sort of event or something. He had like a little mini, like 3 or 4 inch quad." I was like, "Oh, you get on all right with them?" And he was like, "Well, as long as it's tuned properly, they don't explode." And I was like, "Okay."
No, since without current limit, it's a bust.
Didn't have any problems with the KISS 24 amps and the KISS V1 flight controller. The accelerometer ended up going. I think eventually it just took too many hits. I'd get this spin
Your
of
specific one. Is that what we're talking about there, Jack?
Well, I had 2 of them go in the end. So
that could be your flying, though.
Crashing.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Wow.
Tony, do you what do you run that's KISS at the moment? Like which of your quads?
An Alien and a Reverb. One's V1 and one's V2, and you can definitely tell the difference between V1 and V2. V2 is so much better.
Oh yeah,
I just love flying the V2. It's just feels brilliant. But I'm too scared to do any updating. It feels if I do this update and get me on-screen display, is it going to be the same quad? That's what I'm worried about. I never upgrade anything when it flies nice.
Yeah, it can't be
Dangerous.
this quad. Way from it, but it's better.
What revision are we on now? Because I've got 1.3 RC40D. That's the last one I've got.
1345F. I'm busy with.
Oh,
I plugged
wow.
mine into my mate's laptop and it didn't register on anything. It's like there was a Stone Age
as soon
man
as you
come
say
up.
I plug something into a laptop, we don't trust what you're doing. You could be doing anything. It could be an Etch-a-Sketch for all we know.
Should I just go?
There is this thing with the GUI you plug in and it just takes ages.
Laptop.
Oh, what are you there?
This is a KISS laptop, huh?
XT60 doesn't count, Tony.
That is one of my questions. For a while, I know that KISS was sort of not OSD friendly, and you had to put another board in and stuff. I take it that's all changed now. Is it on the V2 boards? Is there an OSD now that you can?
No.
There's not. So
No.
you still have to do extra
No.
boards and stuff.
Yeah.
Why
well,
not? We want one.
Well, there is some work at FedTech that includes OSD. I think it's not a big secret, so it will be released quite soon. So you'll have flight controller KISS based with OSD. There is very nice OSD. I really like it from Alexander Wolf, friend of mine. Well, we work a lot together to improve communication, share ideas, and I really like to work with that guy. There was a guy who is implementing something for multi-view OSD. I had contact last week. He asked what to change in the protocol, and he implemented like 2 hours later. Like, whoa, that's nice. KISS messaging on multi-view OSD. DJI has OSD out of the box without nothing, just plug and play. I did support for TBS EVA VTX with OSD out of the box. Nothing needed on hardware side. There are plenty of options, but some people I don't like OSD. Honestly, I just have voice alarm on Taranis saying when the Mach is down. So that's pretty much what I need. What else do you need it for? Well,
That was
I like to see stuff.
You turned that into
I do like to see.
I like to see
stuff
my
as well.
RSSI. I like to see my timer. I like to see my voltage. Yeah, you can get them in telemetry. So that's the way it works. You say there's this thing called KISS Talk. Presumably there's this protocol and you can talk back and forth to devices and they display OSDs and stuff like that, is there?
There's more than one protocol that talks to OSDs. DJI use MSP protocol. For example, it's old multi-V protocol. I implemented it from scratch, so I cannot use source code from open source projects. So I need to write everything from freaking scratch. So that's interesting concept. And there is a special protocol for KISS that's used to communicate with OSD. And well, it's didn't change since version 1.2. And it's just growing with more commands and more support stuff. And different techniques we use now with Alex Wolf. It's way nicer. Actually helps. We optimize the protocol so it helps to get GPS data from OSD to KISS for RTH. So that was all about.
I suppose one could accuse you of not keeping it super simple if you have to put an external sort of board on for an OSD, but I suppose you could equally argue that it's much more simple not to have an OSD.
Well, yeah, you also need battery and motors, so if you want to fly.
It's never that simple, is it? Not with a quad.
Well, I don't know. Just put PDB with OSD on it. You still need to feed power to your ESCs. It's convenient, and otherwise it will make just FC bigger and more expensive. And until recent, we didn't have much of the alternative than Max chip, which is huge, power hungry. It gets hot all the time, and that's why. It was never on KISS. Actually, I'm lying. I have one KISS board with OSD, one of a kind prototype. It actually has OSD on it. It has VTX on it. It has 4 ESCs. So it's basically all quad in one board. And
you got it to hand or?
No, it didn't work out, and I have just one prototype left.
It melted after a couple 5
No,
minutes.
no. It still works, actually. It's 18 amps. It's not much, but well. But it gets really hot with VTX on it.
I bet.
Oh, Mark FB's got a question. It's not KISS based. I'm gonna go flash my spare quad. Hang on. He asks, can you say something about the new APK on Android phone, Betafly? What are the difference between that and SpeedyB? That sounds like a painless question.
I've not played with the APK stuff on Android. I've done stuff with SpeedyB. So what that is, for people who don't know what that is talking about, is rather than have the Betaflight configurator on your computer and then plug it into your machine via a USB cable, you can either use an on-the-go, or there's a little SpeedyB adapter that you can kind of power and plug in and connect over Bluetooth, and it gives you kind of a Betaflight configurator light on your phone. It's handy at the field if you want to bugger about and maybe you don't use an on-screen display. Then you want to change the settings, change the way things out now, like your flight modes are assigned. You can do it all on your phone. I've not used the Betaflight one yet though. But it's nice, to go back to what we were talking about before. It's nice to have different choices, but I'll probably give it a go and see what it's like. I actually, at the moment, am taking a little tablet PC to the field to do things with iNav, to change things like level alignments and stuff on some of the planes I'm building. And although it works, it's just blooming cumbersome to have a tablet and a cable and trying to figure all that stuff out in the middle of a field. It's not the place to do it. Whipping out the phone and doing it Bluetooth would be a lot nicer.
Well, you need hardware to connect to Bluetooth, so that's why you have SpeedyB dongle. So it's basically USB host converted to Bluetooth serial.
Yeah, those guys though, they did a number of flight controllers that had the Bluetooth built in, which was quite smart. So you didn't actually need the dongle, which was quite cute. But to be honest, I'm not a big fan of having lots of RF signals on a model that you don't need.
And there's one problem. If it is if you have Bluetooth on the board, you need to power quad with the LiPo, and it definitely will not work on KISS, because we disable a lot of features that can be changed, that cannot be changed while LiPo is attached. It's just dangerous, and we don't do that.
Makes sense.
Yep. I had this problem. I had to go to the field to tune, to test firmwares, and I got fed up bringing my laptop. And you sit in the Google, and you have Apple laptop in the bag next to you, and neighborhood can be dodgy. So I think it was last year. I think last summer, I thought, well, I want to build something small that can do pretty much everything with KISS. So I built myself this thing. Very simple. Keychain configurator for KISS.
I heard about it years ago.
No, I built it a year ago, so you can't.
Yeah, I did a video on it, didn't I? Find out what that was.
It was one of the first, I think.
It's a cute little idea, I must admit. It does make it a lot easier.
Well, it's grew actually from just KISS. Then I thought, well, why the hell I cannot configure TBS products? So I can configure TBS products over the air, just connected by USB. It was made mostly for people with micro receivers and without law. And
that was it. I remember now, because it actually supports the whole inbuilt directory structure of the KISS of the TBS stuff and everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And then I thought, well, why don't we configure FedTech over one wire? So they have nice GUI for FedTech. I thought, well, it's too much. Let's put it in this little device. So you also can do FedTech cases with it. And KCSs, of course. And plenty of things. Actually, you can put Bluetooth module in it, and you will have same thing like SpeedyB dongle does. So you can use it even with Betaflight with a bridge from USB to serial. Wow, quite a lot. It's about 25,000 lines of code in the thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't mind me. I'm just smashing my KISS quad. It's live. I'm on 78, 80%, 85, 90, 95, 100, done.
Shall we wait?
So, Alex, how did you get into flying and FPV? What was your story there? How did you discover it all?
Oh, it was a long time ago, actually. The thing is, I was doing a lot of modeling when I was a kid. I did planes, mostly planes, and quad models and this kind of things. And I always wanted to have a heli, so I wanted to fly helis. And it was quite expensive for a kid in Russia to do that, and especially if you have to crash it and many times. And then that idea quite died on me. So until I was like 30, 37, then I saw first multicopters. It was like a parrot drone or something. And I thought, oh, look, it's almost like a heli, but with a lot of propellers. And my wife bought me one for birthday. Oh, well, it lasted about a week. Then it was converted to fly with Spectrum radio because the range was kind of sucks. So I put a hack on it to run it from normal receiver, and that was fun. And then I saw, well, I wanted to do something bigger, so it was flame wheel. I think everyone had it at any time. After flame wheel was Tarot. My monster machine was like 3 kilogram quad OSS hexa. And then Mr. Blackout enters the scene.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, I was in the first batch of Blackout quad. Hey, doggy. And yeah, well, it was fun. I still have somewhere my first flight video with Simon K. She's, oh man, that was fast. Really fast. And yeah, that was another Blackout. Then was, well, probably Aliens. Yeah, the after Blackout was Alien. I think I have 6 or 7 now, different kind of.
They're pretty rare. They're pretty rare. I feel like a dinosaur flying them.
And well, that's how it goes. So you getting new things, you flying it, you enjoying it, you getting more. It's how it works.
I remember seeing the Blackout quad flying across a load of woods and back.
Yeah, with the lights in it, like Star Wars. Yeah, I think it's famous video.
Yeah, good video.
And Metal Danny was also doing quite crazy stuff in the woods.
Yeah, he was doing stuff in the woods. It was good.
Can I ask you about your wings in the background? I see you've got like an S800 and a Drac and everything.
I have currently a Mini Talon for long range. It's on this wall. There's Mini Drac. There's S800 indeed, modified. I have Nano Drac needs to be built. I have Krakiak for loss training. Well, I kind of lost nice in the park.
Yeah.
Flies low and acrobatic. And what else? No, I think that's it. I had Caparini too. I sold it. I didn't like it.
Like heavy.
Well, honestly, Mini Drac and for fast flying and Mini Talon for like 10 kilometers flying. That's my my favorite ones. It started like 2 years ago. I would when I was not doing KISS, I was off the scene for a year, and I want to catch a little bit more adrenaline. So I thought, well, let's build some wings. It's great, and it helps.
There's some love for you, Curry Kitten there.
I know. I was just replying to say you're not allowed to blame me in the case of divorce, but it's my fault that you got into it.
There's a turbo there and everything, man. That makes me excited. My
I like it when new people come into the hobby, but it makes me feel like a granddad.
Right. So we got 20 minutes left. Something, Angus, are you doing admin? Are you able to chat?
I am. No, I'm listening intently.
I was
Okay.
just gonna, before we move on, I was just gonna quickly ask, what flight controller software do you use on your wings?
Ha! Victor.
Ah,
What do you use?
Victor. Eagle
Oh,
tree.
Oh, Vector. Oh yeah, I've got one in my mini Talon. It is a
Yeah.
great system. It's quite
Yeah,
expensive,
speaking
but
of
it's lovely.
yes, it is expensive, but I had
Yeah.
a very nice deal on Hobby King. I think once they screw up the prices, and it was like €40 for a flight controller. I think
Get out of here.
I
40 euros.
made an order, and I by mistake clicked it 3 times, and so I got like 3 flight controllers for price of one. I said, okay, let's build more wings. Speaking of OSD, I think it's best analog OSD I ever seen, so I love it.
Yeah.
It's with
I-
colors.
That's something I meant to ask Lee, actually. I noticed, Lee, on your Instagram, you were showing some new plane flight controllers. So instead of iNav, it's back to the more traditional, here is a flight controller, and you just plug everything in there, and it just does its thing. Have you tested yet? Is it any good?
Currently working through it because the manual is one of those classic one side of A4. And what they do is they try and consolidate 2 hours work into one piece of paper. So currently working through that. But the reason for it, and it's kind of picking up on the kind of the whole theme of this, which is about keeping it simple. And I know lots of pilots that I talk to would love to put a flight controller in a fixed wing. They want more than a stabilizer, and it's usually they want return to home in case something horrible goes wrong, and they want some kind of simple on-screen display if they're doing FPV. And they don't want to go the full iNav RD plane vector route. You know, they don't want to spend hundreds of pounds and spend 45 minutes just soldering pins on. They just want something that everything plugs into. And I've been thinking, blind, there must be something around. Because you remember Furious FPV did an F-35 Lightning flight controller.
Mm-hmm.
And all the pins were on it, and it came with a GPS and an airspeed sensor, and it was a little pack. And it was kind of like, although you had to do the iNavi stuff, you just plugged it all together. And for many pilots, the idea of you get all these disparate parts, you order them all from different places, and they arrive and you start crimping and soldering, and that's without starting the computer and downloading software. They're just like, no, I'm out. So I've been looking for simple flight controllers that are plug and play, and looks like lots of them. So you remember that I did a load of videos on the Copilot from ZOHD. That's kind of a stabilizer with a return to home function is really what it is. Whereas this thing from Datec, I think it is, or Datum, they got in touch and said, we've created this thing, and it's a stabilizer. So it's kind of like the Copilot, but it's what everyone wants next in the Copilot. So it's got an FPV on-screen display, return to home, more flight modes, a little bit more customization. But it comes with all the pins attached. Hallelujah. And you just plug everything in. It's like, in fact, I emailed Furious FPV today. Somebody came on to me and said that there was a rumor that they were going to do an updated version of the F-35 because it was an F3 based flight controller. If they did like an F-75 and it was a F7 base, that would honestly, they'd sell so many because loads of people out there just would love to do the return to home stuff. My mate, actually, we were playing with his funny story from last week. I'm not sure if I managed to cover it. I built him a Nano Talon, I think it was actually. We put iNav in it with an FPV system. And I was teaching him about return to home because he loves playing with return to home. But the little panic button, he has this little brain fart when he actually needs to flick it and he forgets about it. And by the time he remembers he's got a return to home button, it's all over. Oh. So we were doing circuits, and I was going, you know, when you did your driving test and the guy had his book. Well, probably doesn't anymore now, right? And the guy goes, well, I hit the dash. I'd like you to do an emergency stop. And he goes like that. And he had to brake and try and get him to nut the dash. Well, I was doing the same thing. Was like, I'd shout to go, return to home. And he'd have to find the switch. Anyway, long story short, we did it 5 times. And he's starting to get very relaxed with this whole thing. And unfortunately, the battery that we put in, when he gave it to me for this little flight that was only going to be 5 minutes, was a bit. It was all puffed up and a bit knackered. So I said, are you sure about using it? Have you not got any other ones? Oh, no, I've not got any others. It'll be fine. We're only going to fly 5 minutes. And after 12 minutes, this battery just kind of went, no, I'm out. So this plane, and of course it was over the farthest field, and this plane just started to sink. He hit the return to home. INAV kind of said, "Okay, I'll fly it back," and said, "Okay, let's have more power."
What about
and it just, and it went and when we went to look for it, hopefully the farmer isn't listening, but his potato crop is about 4 foot high, but there was this lovely line through that just cut the top off all this stuff. It was brilliant. But so going back to your question, for people like him who wants an on-screen display but doesn't want to come round to my house for 4 hours while I solder everything up, set it up, to be able to plug it together would be great. So I'm really excited about seeing how this thing works. But it's not expensive either. It's relatively cheap.
That is good news, because they used to be quite popular and there was development. I've still got a couple of Storm OSDs. There's the Vector. There's another one from somebody else. But it seemed like as soon as iNav took off, that all sort of went out the window. But yeah, I still think there's very much a place for it. Just literally a little box. It has plugs for your servos, and you just plug it in and go. I like that idea. Yeah,
I mean, the Copilot's been really successful. I was speaking to ZOHD last week about it, and it has exceeded all their expectations. What I would love them to do is bring out because it's always been, interestingly, it was called the ZOHD Copilot Lite, which kind of intimates that there's a full-size one, right? But I'm hoping, like the Pro or the Gold Edition. But I'm hoping they do, because that stuff actually works really well. But no, it'd be good. But I have got a question for Andrew while we're kind of off subject for a minute. Sorry, Andrew / Frank. Of course, I'm on LDO. I have to use his.
Address him by his full title. Thank you very much.
That's Andrew / Frank. It sounds like an instruction, doesn't it? Yeah. So you sent me a little message the other day, and I want to pick your brains about this because I'm a bit sad. All about because last week we talked about this and said there was going to be an update about what was going on with the UK legislation and whether or not we were going to get an extension.
Yes.
And it looks like we might not have. What's going on, and what does it mean that you have to do if you want to fly legally from whenever?
Yeah. So
I'm going to take a big swig of beer while I talk about this because I'm
very wise. Now is a good time to have something large and strong to hand. So the exemption for the members of the model flying associations in the UK. So we had an exemption from the new rules that came in technically last November. We had an exemption through till July, and then because the world ended, it got delayed.
Even now,
a lot of it got delayed even further back to November, and then now it's been delayed back to end of December, although we'll get to that when it comes to it. But there was a couple of clauses that were separate from everything else. So most of it is to do with EU implementations, and don't worry about it. Most of it is in one big lump of rules, and so that's coming in at the end of December. Then there's 2 clauses that weren't covered by that, and there was meetings end of last week, over the weekend, and so remember that the exemption ran out on Monday. They released an exemption for one of them on Monday, which is to say, if you've done the test if you've done any of the BMFA A certs, B certs, the online tests that the BMFA do, the online tests that FPV UK do, or any of the other associations, if you've done those tests, you don't have to do the CAA's online test. So that's
but that still stands. That's what we thought it was going to be, right?
Yeah. So that makes sense. But and on Monday they went, oh yeah, here you go. We'll honour that for at least until the end of the year. Whether they will or not after that, yes. But anyway, but there's the one last clause that was if you've
that is not, sorry, Frank, that is a lion.
Wow.
What
Again.
if anyone's listening to the
Is
podcast?
that a Maine Coon or something?
Alex,
They are big, aren't they?
Sorry about
cat. It's bigger than my biggest dog, which is small compared to that.
Told ya.
That is Jack in cat form.
That is. Sorry, Frank. Can you carry on?
So there's this one last clause, which is to say that you need to have your operator ID on your aircraft before you fly it. And
I hope they can read it at 70 miles an hour because that's how fast I'm going to be flying.
And that clause, there was toing and froing, and they released an exemption on Tuesday. So the day after the old one expired, they released a new exemption to say if you haven't got your ID yet because you applied for it after the June the 15th, then we'll give you 3 months leeway while you're waiting for your operator ID to turn up because they're too busy moving Excel spreadsheets around. And so there's 3 months. If you pay them your £9 now, you get 3 months to extra to not put your operator ID on.
Paid, not done the test, but I have an operator ID. What do I do?
So to comply with the rules, if you got your operator ID or you applied for your operator ID before the 15th of June 2020, then you need to put your operator ID on anything before you fly it with a minimum size of 3mm text height or 8.5 points in old typey numbers.
Can I burn it on my face?
That's
Not unless your face is attached to your quad.
Yeah, it's got to be on the main.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. It's got to be on every single drone, not just the.
But can we just put them
flying? Because it needs to be on the main structure of what's flying, and it needs to be minimum 3mm, and it needs to be accessible without specialist knowledge or tools.
Okay. So just stick them on your batteries, Tony, is the answer to that one.
And it needs to be on the main.
It has to be on
structure.
the main.
Can't be on the batteries.
But that's part of the main structure when it's on there.
Well, if your batteries are an integral structural component, then you can have it on your batteries.
They don't fly very well without them.
What makes me laugh here is that the whole weight category and the weight they consider the battery a part of the quad, but then when it comes to doing this stuff, then it's not. It just seems to be one of those kind of because putting it on the batteries would be so much easier. So just so I'm clear here, right? Just so I know what to tell people or anybody that comes up to annoy me when I'm flying. So if you have already registered, paid your £9, got your whatever search from whoever, got your operator ID, as of now, you should should be on your model in 3mm or higher on somewhere that you can get to without specialized tools and isn't the battery. If you have applied after whenever it was, 15th of May, was it, you said?
15th of June.
15th of June, and your operator ID hasn't yet come through, you have an exemption in operation where you can still fly.
So that you would need to have the bit of paper or on your phone or whatever with the exemption, with the proof that you've applied for it, and the cert.
And this is just for over 250 grams still.
Until the end of the year, under 250 grams is exempt. Also, flying is indoors is going to be exempt for as far as we can see at the moment. Something to be aware of, but not to worry about at the moment, is if it's got a camera on in 2021, then it will no longer be exempt, even if it's under 250 grams.
Just so you know, this heli is well under 250 grams with a battery. So you know what? I might be sticking an FPV kit on it and flying this instead. Oh, mate, I'll tell you what, I am so gutted that we haven't got an extension for this, because I was really hoping that it would just, to be honest, we've got so many other things to worry about as a country than penalising this small group of people, the vast majority of which are not in the dickhead crowd.
even the CAA have got bigger things to be worrying about at the moment, with trying to not have all the UK's aviation industry go bust.
Yeah,
To try
in
and
a car park. Yeah.
air traffic control at this point in time, trying to work out who's actually pilot licenses are still valid because they haven't got the hours in over the past few months because they haven't been able to get out.
Of course, they haven't been able to maintain. Yes,
they've got some pretty major things to worry about. So this is probably why all this was done on literally the last day that it could be worried about. So yeah, the other thing is, I have it on good authority that since last November, when this whole thing was all set up, they've had a grand total of 10 inquiries by police looking up operator IDs. So, for
just remind you, how much did this system cost again, Andrew? Allegedly, based on the last reports,
it was £5 million has been spent on it so far.
So each inquiry cost the British taxpayer about £500,000. Is that what we're saying? What a fantastic waste of money that was. Well done, everybody.
Did they return the quads?
I think.
Yeah, I'm putting my postcode on as well.
Still your property.
Yeah, but it's that's 10 years of a police inspector's salary per inquiry there.
That's mental.
There you go.
That is mental. Well, look, thank you for keeping us all abreast with it. I know you get a lot of flack when you talk to people about this, because it is like,
it's not Frank's fault.
It's not Frank's fault at all. Don't take it out on Frank. He's just the messenger.
I'm not saying it's the right thing. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying this is what is happening, so that you can make your own decisions as to what you follow.
Yeah. But at least we're aware of what the legal position is and what we should be doing, and then we can just do whatever we want and take the consequences. It just feels really draconian and silly, particularly when that poor couple that got messed about with Gatwick. I know they only got 50 grand.
They're not poor anymore,
250.
are they?
Well, to be honest, I mean, they only got 50 grand out of that 200, didn't they?
I would say no to 50 grand.
I don't think anyone would, but it's a lot less than 200 that everyone was talking about.
Having your name on the newspapers being like, you've done it, and then have the police raid. They'll find all sorts of things in your house, mate.
Will be less scary than your house, especially in that drawer to your right.
I don't know. I've seen various firearms on your walls, Tony.
Shh. We're live, Frank.
Has he got to put his operator ID on them as well?
Every bullet.
3 millimeters. Sorry for dragging the chat over this way. What were we talking about before we all went?
We haven't got enough time to cover it, Painless. You're going to have to come back. But we were talking about, I love the bits of fluff from the cat floating across the screen.
Just petting him. He wants attention.
Hold him up again, and can we put Alex on full screen, please?
Oh my god!
His head is the size of your head. It's amazing. Look at that.
Oh,
that is a big cat.
It's just as well he's docile, because he could do some serious damage. If I tried to do that with my cat, I'd be covered in blood.
No, he's nice.
No,
you can do everything with him.
That's cute.
Wow.
What's my favorite
limit, but yeah, pretty much everything.
There's one really funny comment that Drone Race has written. I don't know if you want to flash it up. We can register like the Pakistani airline pilots have, which I think is one of my favorite comment of the entire evening. That's fantastic.
I'm not familiar with it. Can you explain?
So the last I heard, there was an allegation that about half of the Pakistani airline pilots actually didn't have, they weren't certified to be pilots. Basically, yeah. They paid someone to do the test for them.
My online test for me.
Yeah, man.
We wouldn't do anything like that, would we, here on LDO?
No. Well, to be fair, we were talking about that, Tony, when there was talk of having to do some kind of line of sight test, weren't we? We were trying to figure out who was going to do that one for you.
someone, NJ actually reached out and said, "Come up and I'll teach you how to fly line of sight." And I was like, "Yeah, well, if it comes to it, I'll be there, mate. Don't worry."
BMFA are in touch with Eric Lee Koo of Rotor Racing fame about doing a new specially targeted part of the achievement scheme, so the A sets and B sets and all that kind of thing, specifically for FPV racers. So there's some things going along on that front that I'm sure pick up when people can get out and about a bit more confidently.
Yeah,
It sounds just as
that'd be
hard.
nice.
It's like you've got the line of sight test, which is going to hurt normal FPVs, or a racing test where you're going to have to do it like a clean circuit, and that's somewhat beyond me most of the time as well. It's like, I've crashed on the second gate.
They tell me to take my bloody goggles off, and I'll be like, no, I cannot power loop. No, it's not going to happen.
That'll be the book on the dashboard again. Like,
Yeah.
FPVs died, recover.
No, that's the bit where Tony pulls his hoodie up and says, "I'm just going to the toilet. I'll be straight." But when he comes back, he's got a quiff and has grown about 6 inches, and suddenly, and then does the flight, and then goes, "Right, I'm going back for another wee," and then comes back. So all done.
All done.
And one of the rules
And
as well,
NJ's
Tony, would be that you can't sit down whilst flying. You have to stand up.
I'll be like, right, I need another hobby. I don't think I could ever quit FPV, but not sitting down. I need to sit down and fly. I need to feel relaxed, man. God, what's all this standing up stuff anyway?
When you're paying all that attention to every blade of grass.
Oh, the blades of grass on HD are amazing.
Oh, yeah, you can actually see the leaves on the branches on the trees, mate, can't you?
I know. It's bloody brilliant.
I'm left out in the cold in this.
Me and you both.
Home DJI.
We're the paupers.
Do it. It's
I'm Frank.
amazing.
Well, when we all get together at Weston in our wellies and we go for a curry, we'll bring our goggles.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to touch them, man. They'll be full of old, human malware, Duke.
I'll bring my wipes, Jack. You'll be all right.
I'm definitely not looking through some DJI goggles because it'll be too expensive.
You look through them and you just like, cha-ching.
Looking through Andy's with his quad just on the ground, that was like, I definitely can't just spectate and piggyback on someone else flying because it's not going to go well.
No, forget it. You're mad. Thank you. Alex, do you want to give a shout out to your Patreon, or like if tell people how to get hold of the new firmware that you write?
Sure, if I may. Shout out. I'm extremely grateful actually for all the Patreons because I don't have many, but I treasure every one of them. And basically what I do now, it's because of those guys who are supporting me. I didn't really want to have Patreon, but they forced me to do that. Weird. There are all the new firmwares I'm making before they hit public officially. They all go on Patreon. I do their GUIs. I do all the beta for RTH, for DJI, for other goodies I make. I'm mostly supporting questions from. Sorry about that.
Slight wobble.
The house went like that.
Trying to answer as many questions on Patreon as I can because I feel obliged to help those guys, and probably I answer them more than on Facebook. Well, if you feel like supporting me, join. I hope I deliver.
And the link is in the description down below. I put it in there.
Oh, thank you.
Fantastic.
Thanks so much for coming on, and I love it. Thank you. Yeah. You've been listening to Let's Drone Out. You've been joined by Curry Kitten.
Goodbye.
My little Tony.
Bonjour.
Painless 360.
Happy flying.
Andrew / Frank.
Bye.
Alex.
Yeah, fly nice.
And I've been Jack. No worries. Cool. Thank you very much, guys. Remember, tune in every Thursday. Thank you to our Patreons for your love and support. And hopefully next week, I can't do it this week. We'll do last month's bonus pod. I'm very sorry about that. I'm on the Thursday night show for 2 hours later on. So that's www.thethursdaynightshow.com. I think I'm on it at 12, I think 11 or 12, something like that. Check it out. Be playing some 80s music. If you remember what that is, half of you were probably made to that music. And yep. Thank you. Cut that, editor. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Oh,
Okay,
put
bye
that at
guys.
the start, please.